I want to start this off by saying I put 1,000 hours into Breath of the Wild. I got it back in late March of 2017, the day I got my Switch. I just kind of got lucky and happened to have the last one in Best Buy, which was pretty cool. And I immediately from there fell in love with the game. Over the course of 6 years, I have 1,000 hours into it. That's kind of insane. That's over a month of my life just kind of gone, and I can never get that back. But I think it was well spent. I never 100% of the game. I did learn a lot of the different glitches. I did learn a lot of different things about the game, and I had a good time doing it. I bought the DLC, of course. I got all the DLC stuff. There wasn't a single DLC item I didn't get. You know, I spent so much time doing everything. You know, I did the Trial of the Sword. I did the Champion's Battle. I did all of it. Really liked the game. That being said, it's a flawed game, and no game is perfect. I think I have a bit of the experience to talk about the game. So when it comes to the sequel, I've already put over 150 hours into the sequel. I think last time I checked, I could be slightly wrong on that. I've put a lot of time into it already. And I think I already have some criticisms that I can give to it. I want to say that Tears of the Kingdom is a improvement over Breath of the Wild. I want to make that abundantly clear from the start. I don't hate the game. I really like the game, but there are some things that I found while playing that I just straight up either disliked or really hated. And I think the big thing to start with is the dungeons. Now, in Breath of the Wild, the dungeons were kind of a new thing, kind of a new formula for the Zelda series. We'd never really had anything like it. I think because of the open world, Nintendo thought to change the typical dungeon setup, which I think is fair. And I think that Tears of the Kingdom does slightly improve on the formula from Breath of the Wild in a couple of ways, but also makes it worse in a couple of others. Now, thematically, Tears of the Kingdom, hands down, wins the dungeon competition. Okay, all 4 dungeons in Breath of the Wild look exactly the same. Oh, Lord. However, maybe in terms of some mechanics, Tears of the Kingdom kind of falls short here. Breath of the Wild's big mechanic with all the dungeons were that you can move the various divine beasts and different parts of them in certain ways to affect how the dungeon is played. And this went into solving different puzzles. Particularly, the one in the desert, the camel, was a really, really, really good example of this and how things had to turn and line up. The elephant was good too. The bird was okay, and I would say the lizard was maybe the shortest of all of them, not the best. But these were neat and interesting mechanics. So they're giant robots, so you can move them in interesting ways. And I really, really, really liked that. I thought that was pretty cool. Although thematically, again, pretty boring, just because they all kind of look the same. Tears of the Kingdom improves on the themes, like I said, but in terms of the mechanics, not that great. The first dungeon I went to was the Wind Temple. I mean, I feel like that's what most people did. We go to the Wind Temple, we hang out there for a while, we do our thing there. Once I got up to it with Tulin and we hung out up there, the journey up there was pretty fun, like a platforming thing, and I had some fun different ways of getting up there. Once I got up there, I was like, okay, this is it. It's the first dungeon. And then I hit the little button that lets you officially start the dungeon, the one that actually lets you into it and, you know, start doing things. And immediately on the map, there are 5 little points that I have to go to. And I'm like, this again? Where the dungeon tells me where I need to go from the start? I hate that. I strongly dislike that. I do like the freedom of it because I'm allowed to go where I want to and do them in any order I want to. I enjoy that. However, you don't have to tell me where they are. I can find them. I'm not stupid. You don't have to put them on the map. You can make them a little bit more obvious in the world. Like maybe they give off like a bright light or something, and maybe it's really easy to see them from the world. And I get that some of them are inside the ship, so that was a little bit harder. But I feel like once you see one, and if the game indicates to you via cutscene what one looks like, so it shows you what you're looking at, that's all you need. From there, you can find the rest, because now you know what you're looking for. But no, they just put all of them on the map, and you just have to go there on the map. And to be fair, to the Wind Temple's credit, some of the ways to get to these different 5 points are pretty good. There's some pretty good ice puzzles involved, pretty good use of the Ascension ability, and of course Ultra Hand, and even the Rewind one is pretty good too. There was a chest in there that I could only really get by using the Recall ability, and I had to hold a platform that I made out of ice bars, and then walk up it and crawl through a hole while it was up there in the Recall. It was really cool, and I really liked that one. But like, that was the first one, and I was like, okay, pretty good first temple. I liked that one. It wasn't too hard. It wasn't too like easy. That one's okay. That's a good first temple. My second temple I went to was the fire temple. Now I want to say the lead up to the fire temple, hanging out with Yonobu and getting the mask off his face and the marble rock roast, really cool. Really enjoyed that part of the story. I really liked that. And the story overall in Tears of the Kingdom, way better than Breath of the Wild. Way better. Breath of the Wild with the DLC kind of made the story better, but with Tears of the Kingdom is way better than that. Really good story, I think. Some unique things that they did in there too, and I really, really like the story. But anyway, back to the fire temple. I get to the fire temple, and I'm like, okay, cool, here we go. This is going to be more of the cool stuff from the wind temple. But I thought about something while I was in the fire temple. I was like, okay, I know how to make that shitty little air bike that everybody knows how to make now. Why don't I just fly to all the different points I need to go to and just get this done in like 15 minutes? And I did that, like, really quickly. I beat the fire temple, boss included, because the boss is a fucking joke, in like 15 minutes, tops. Really simple. Took me no time at all. And when I first did that, I did find some chests too, by the way. I didn't just like rush through it and not find any secrets. I did find a couple chests with some goodies in it. When I first got that done, I was like, cool, that was neat. I did it, I got the new ability, neato. And then like as I went around exploring the world some more, I was like, huh, I'm not sure if I liked that as much. And when I got to the water temple, I knew for sure I didn't like that as much. The water temple has the same problem, where you are able to just fly anywhere and build anything. And the problem this presents for both the fire temple and the water temple is that you can negate a lot of the puzzles that you're supposed to solve by just flying there. And the water temple is a little bit better than the fire temple about this, but they're still both pretty bad. If you look around the water temple, you can see like waterfalls and stuff, and I'm pretty sure you're supposed to navigate using those and go to different areas with those, with some exceptions, of course. But it's very clear that you're supposed to use the Zora armor and Sidon's abilities. But you really don't have to. You can just make a little air bike and just fly wherever you need to go, and then solve a little puzzle, and then leave. That's all you have to do. You can get it done like 15 minutes tops. Granted, the boss fight on this dungeon did give me a little bit more trouble than the one in the fire temple, but it wasn't hard. I didn't die to it or anything. It's a Zelda. It's not hard. So I was like, okay, now I know why I don't like these temples. And to be clear, I have the same problem with the Spirit Temple, but not as much, because at that point I was just already like, okay, whatever, I know what to do. I'll just deal with it. Spirit Temple is almost worse, because you're not really doing any puzzles. You can just stick a piece onto an air bike and then like fly it out. Now, sometimes the pieces were too big, so you could basically make your own kind of flying machine, a different kind of flying machine, and then carry the piece for the Mineru's robot out. You didn't actually have to do any of the puzzles. Hell, I think at one point I just like lifted one up into the air over a ledge or something, and then just like got it out that way. Like, and like at first glance, this might be like, okay, this is really cool. This is a neat thing. I'm allowed to do these dungeons and however I see fit. And I can cheese them if I want to, which, like, if the game's all about freedom, that's generally speaking a good thing. That's actually pretty cool. However, I don't think that was always intentional. I don't think the developers intended for me to just make an air bike and just avoid half the shit they wanted me to do. Like in the fire temple, you're supposed to get around using these different minecarts and shit. Nah, just fly where you need to go. Fuck it. Just ignore all these little puzzles where you have to shoot the arrow thingies in time to move the track. Nah, forget that. You could just fly over everything. The dungeons are a joke. The Thunder Temple is a little bit better because you can't do that because it's all inside. I like that. That's good. And here's the thing about it. This problem could have been avoided. And the reason you might be saying it's not actually a problem. You have the freedom. I don't think it's intentional. Okay, a game like Metroid Dread, where the sequence breaks and the glitches are not only intended but encouraged, pulls this off much better. Like being able to kill Kraid in the second phase instantly because you went and got the Morph Ball bombs early. Mwah, beautiful. Killing the one thing in the reactor room. I don't know what it's called. If you do a Shine Spark with the gravity suit, dude, that's sick. That shows that you understand the games, also getting the gravity suit early. You understand the game's mechanics, and you know where to go, and you know what to do. You try different things, and you figured it out. That's really cool. You've overcome some really difficult challenges, and you've gotten a reward for that. That's intentional. Making a fucking air bike and flying from point A to point B, solving a little itty bitty child's puzzle, and then going to the next one doesn't seem intentional when they've set up these cool minecarts all around or set up these waterfalls and different ways to navigate to these points. This isn't cool. This doesn't seem intentional. This isn't fun. I did not have fun with the water temple. I did not have fun with the fire temple. I had more fun just thinking, oh my god, I'm rushing through this. The Thunder Temple, I had a sigh of relief. I was like, okay, this is good. We're 2 for 4. We're 2 for 4 dungeons. This is good. I'll take it. I'll take like half of the dungeons are actually pretty good. And then the Spirit Temple happened, and I was like, all right, well, great. They're all kind of bad. Now, to be clear, I am a fan of old Zelda dungeons. I like the idea of getting lost in a dungeon. Ocarina of Time is really good about this, Twilight Princess is really good about this, and Skyward Sword is really good about this. I know Skyward Sword has its problems, but I really like that game. I'm a big fan of that game. I did play a little bit of the original version. I bought it on the Wii U on the Virtual Console like a couple years back. And then like half a year later, they announced that they were putting the HD version on Switch, and I was like, okay. I bought that for no reason. Nice. And I ended up playing the HD version and using the stick controls, and I ended up liking it a lot. I really enjoyed the game. I beat it, had a good time. I started a master mode playthrough, didn't finish it, and got bored because that game is not fun on a second playthrough. It's really good for a first one if you want to know about the Zelda story, but after that, no. But I really like the dungeons in Skyward Sword, as well as the open areas. Those were also kind of puzzles for you to solve, and I enjoyed that because there were several moments when I'm playing Skyward Sword where I was like, I genuinely don't know what to do here, and I like that. I like being stumped because when I figure it out, I'm like, good, very good, and I feel good. You feel good about it. There is a very clear distinction between intentional freedom and unintentional freedom. Unintentional freedom allows you to cheese through things with no problem. It allows players to just avoid the cool shit you set up, because here's a fun fact about gaming. Players will always do the most efficient path. Almost always. And if they don't, they're either ignorant of the most efficient path or they're intentionally choosing to not do it. But a majority of players will take the most efficient path if they know about it. And if you don't stop them from playing into your cool puzzles that you've set up, they will just ignore them. And we know that Nintendo is capable of stopping us, because in shrines, which I do think are better in this game, you can't just build whatever you want. You have to use the tools that are there. I mean, granted, you could fiddle with them in a few different ways and kind of cheese some puzzles, but that feels better because I took the tools they gave me and I fiddled with them myself and I made them work in my own way. Rather than just, I have everything at my disposal, I can just do everything I want. You have a set of things, you limit the freedom to get a better outcome. That's so real. That's so real. I don't think that Nintendo understands that, because they could have made it so that for whatever reason you just can't pull out Zonai parts in the temples. They could have done that. But they didn't. Like, they didn't let you do that. And I see in some cases, like, what if you wanted to stick a fire emitter onto your shield? Well, that kind of gets into a different issue, but we can get back to that. But I think that they could have done this. They could have made it so you can't just place Zonai parts in temples, and that would have solved all of it, because then you would have been forced to use the tools that they put there for you. Granted, they might have had to put like a couple of fans down, a couple places, a couple more rockets, but they usually did that anyway in case you didn't have the parts with you. So like, why just not limit us to use the shit that you want us to use? Make us struggle. Make us have a problem to overcome. This game just felt like, the dungeons at least, just felt like a breeze, like it was nothing, like I didn't have to think. And some people are into that. Some people just don't want to do the dungeons. But then to that I would say, the dungeons are optional. You don't have to do them. Go do something else. And then eventually, if you feel like, growing a pair and wanting to do the cool dungeons, then go do them. Don't make all the don't dumb down the dungeons because people don't want to have to deal with it, And that's my biggest gripe with the game. That is like the biggest thing. Again, I want to be clear. Still think the dungeons are an improvement over Breath of the Wild. I still think they're better, but I think that they're worse in that mechanically they're not as interesting, and they're way too easy to be cheesed. Like, I remember the first time I went through the camel dungeon in Breath of the Wild, the camel divine beast. I can never remember their names. Is it Vametto? Varuda is the elephant. Meadow is the bird. Va, I don't remember the name of it. I can't remember the name of it. But the first time I did that, it was actually genuinely kind of difficult. Like, actually kind of hard to get through, and I kind of got stumped in a couple places, which you might, oh, I got through it. But it was also like the second Zelda game I had ever played, and by now I've beaten at least 4. I haven't beaten that many, but still, I'm more used to doing the dungeons, doing the puzzles now. I'm much more used to that. So maybe that's it. I could be speaking from a place of ignorance at that time, you know, getting stumped there was kind of my fault. I did like the boss fight in that one too. But beyond dungeons, what else did I not like? The depths are really cool in concept. The first couple of times that I went down into the depths, I was blown away. I didn't know how big the depths were, and you really don't realize it until you actually get a decent chunk of the way, and you're like, holy shit, wait a minute. Is this the entire map? Hold on. And then you recognize later, yeah, it's the entire freaking map. The whole map is just the depths, which is great. I love that. What I don't like is the gloom mechanic. Now, you might be saying, oh, the gloom is what makes it cool. The fact that you lose health and don't get it back is the challenge. But there is no challenge. Because Sundelions are the easiest shit to find in the world. You go up to almost any floating island in the sky, and you can find a Sundelion. And you can just go cook with them. And then you just go back down in the depths, and you're fine. You get hit a couple times, you just heal with some Sundelions, and you heal with some other foods to get your health back up. You're good. Now, before I realized what Sundelions did, I really liked the depths. I was like, okay, this is cool because I can go down here, I can explore for a while, and then when my health gets low, I gotta get out of there, let my health go back up, and then get some more items, get some more gear, get some stronger gear, come back down and explore more of it later. Oh, beautiful. I mean, genuinely beautiful. What a great mechanic. But then they ruined it with Sundelions being everywhere. And then like it's like, yeah, all you have to do is like point on a map where they are, and you can just go get them after every blood moon. Like you put a little pin down on the map, and you know exactly what they are. And I've done that because I was trying to farm them for the armor, and I was like, oh wait, I could just leave that there and get that for food. Now, I think there is a solution to this. I really do. I don't really have a solution for the dungeon. I would just let them do their thing because ultimately I don't think that the dungeons are that bad. They're not great, but I kind of understand what they were going for. I think they can maybe make some improvements around. I guess I did give one solution in terms of, you know, don't let people build in the dungeon, whatever. The solution for the whole Sundelion thing is take the Sundelions and the Dark Clumps and swap their places. Either swap their abilities or swap how you get them. I think logistically, swapping the ability would make more sense. For those of you who don't know, getting Dark Clumps is only done through defeating Phantom Ganon or the Gloom Hands. And that, like when you first find them, is a terrifying, I mean genuinely terrifying fight. I think the first time I found them was on top of Fort Akala. I was just on the top of it. I had just flown down from the sky. I was up there, and then this gloom starts to come up, and I'm like, what is this? And there's hands coming out of the ground, and the sky's turning red. I'm like, oh, holy shit. And I ended up like climbing on top of a building to get away from them, and then they went away, and they left behind Dark Clumps. I had no idea what they did. And then I went to Kakariko Village, and then I found a lady who says that her grandma can be healed by something that gets rid of the gloom. And I was like, oh, the Dark Clump probably does that. I was wrong. It's a Sundelion. A Sundelion gets rid of the gloom, and the Dark Clump prevents you from being hurt by it. If they swapped these and made the Dark Clump the thing that heals the gloom, and made the Sundelion the thing that prevents it, oh my gosh. The mechanic is way better because then I actually have to fight. I have to really, really fight to get these things. And they're not as common. Now, does this mean that you're going to be grinding and you're going to be farming them more? Yes. Yes, it does. And that's what we want. We want that. This game is, there's a lot of grinding in this game. You may not notice it, but you're doing a lot of grinding, whether it be just like smashing ores, like for the Zonite stuff, or if you're just running around trying to get Koroks. You're grinding. That's what you're doing. There's a lot of it in this game, and it's not inherently bad. But I really feel like the depths were really screwed up simply because of the Sundelion. The Gloom is a great mechanic. Oh, fantastic. And it's really well done in the final boss fight. The whole final boss fight area you have to deal with the gloom. And I actually ended up running out of gloom food. I ended up like running out of the Sunderland food, and I had to just deal with it. I think Ganon had me down to like less than 10 hearts, and I was like, uh-oh, we have a problem. And I kept having to heal myself with what I could. And I actually liked that fight. I thought the final boss fight was pretty good. But yeah, I think that the depths could have been done better, and I'm a little disappointed by them in terms of the theme and the layout of it. How the depths are not only like the under of Hyrule, but they are also the inversion of Hyrule, where everything that's tall in Hyrule is low in the depths. Really good, really cool way to do things. How like rivers are just like walls. That's so dope. That's so good. I really enjoy that. I think they did a good job with the depths overall. I think that one mechanic would really save the depths if it was like switched around. My other problem with the depths is what you find in the depths. There are so many really cool locations in the depths. There's a lot of really neat places. There's a lot of cool mines, a lot of cool skeletons, a lot of cool Yiga clan hideouts. Those things are all cool. I really enjoy them. You know what's not cool? Every fucking chest I open either has one, the Zonite crystals, which isn't bad, or two, amiibo content from the fucking first game. Now, this, you might be thinking, is like, oh, cool. They just made that free for everybody, which, like, yeah, I agree with you. It should be free. I agree. That's great. However, that's like 99% of what you find down there. You don't find, like, any cool or interesting outfits. I think there's maybe, like, 5 or 6 new outfits in the game. Tops. It's very disappointing that almost all the content in the depths is just amiibo stuff. Don't get me wrong, I like dressing up as Skyward Sword Link with the goddess sword in my hand. That quest was actually pretty cool, and I was blown away. Okay, when you go to the three, I'm spoiling everything. The quest where you go around to the different springs for wisdom, courage, and power, and then you fix the mother statue in the Forgotten Temple, and then you get the goddess sword. I was like, that's so cool. That's so cool, and it pretty much confirms through that the mother goddess statue in the Forgotten Temple is the one from Skyward Sword. That pretty much confirms it. Like, that's great. I love that. That's so good. I really like that. And then, you know, dressing up as Skyward Sword Link and having that sword, it's fun. I like the Skyward Sword Link outfit. It's my favorite. Second would probably be like Twilight Princess, and then third would be Breath of the Wild, the Tunic of the Wild, and the Champion's Tunic. And then I would also put Tears of the Kingdom's Improved Tunic at the same level. Those three together can all be third place. They'll tie. But I really like that. However, I found literally every single amiibo set down there. And it's just like, are you kidding me? There's not really that much new content. You find some amiibo weapons and stuff down there, but there's not like new content. And that's kind of boring. The similar problem happened with the horses. You don't unlock any new outfits for the horses. As far as I know, so far, there are not any new outfits for the horses that didn't exist in Breath of the Wild. The only new one was a fucking amiibo set that you got if you had the Breath of the Wild Link amiibo. There is so much recycled content in this game. It just feels like they did not try in a couple places. And I think that I think that them making it free is really cool, but they could have done this with the shop. They could have done this through actual cool quests. And to be fair, I do like that, like, you can go on the Sky Islands and you can find old maps, and then they'll take you to places, and then you'll get the thing from that place. Yeah, I like that. That's really cool. That's a really enjoyable thing. However, it just being all amiibo content or DLC content from the first game down there, really disappointing. Like, I was hoping, what was I hoping to get? Oh, okay, so underneath the Coliseum, there was another Coliseum, and it's a Lionel Coliseum. And I went there super early game, and I was like, I can do this, whatever. No, I did not do it because I had forgotten about the gloom mechanic. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, if I get hurt, I'm screwed. So I got out of there, and I got back to it after I completed all 5 dungeons, after I had already beaten the game once. And I went back to it, and I beat it. And I was like, okay, this has got to be it. This has got to be the Hylian Shield. I still haven't found the Hylian Shield. I have no idea where it's at. And I'm really, really, really hoping to find it sometime, because I haven't found it yet. And I've been so against looking stuff up online. The only things I've looked up online about the game are a couple shrine locations because I just could not find the fucking cave entrances. Jesus. And then, like, I think I once I realized that there was the Twilight Princess stuff in the game, I looked up the locations of that. Because I have the Twilight Princess amiibo, so I was like, okay, I already have this amiibo. I don't want to, like, have to wait to scan it in. I just want to go get this shit and get it done, because I like that set. And then I did that. Otherwise, everything, I went and I found it on my own. And I liked exploring, but, like, after a while, you get another cap, you get another tunic, you're just like, Jesus Christ. That's all there is. And, I mean, getting the Begoron sword was really, really cool. I liked that. Getting the boomerang was really cool from Wind Waker. I mean, I liked that, too. Anyway, back to the Colosseum, I was like, okay, yeah. Hylian Shield. This has got to be it. And it's Majora's Mask. And to be fair, I like that they made it difficult to get. Because I think that was intentional. They made it an endgame item so that you would have to work to get it. It would be very difficult for somebody to start their game, go down there, and get Majora's Mask. That was the problem with Breath of the Wild, is that you could just go get Majora's Mask, and then you're, like, safe for the rest of the game. Like, you're just chill for the rest of the game. And in Master Mode, that thing was a lifesaver. In Tears of the Kingdom, if they do a Master Mode, which I pray to God they do, you're not going to be able to get Majora's Mask very easily at all. It's going to take you a while to get to that point. So I really, really do like that. But I still was disappointed that it was DLC content. I was still disappointed about that. And I think that that's my biggest gripe with the depths. My other gripes are with the menu. And this is kind of the smaller things, but having to hold R to get ready to throw your sword and then hit up to select the item you want to throw feels awkward. I have many cases where I'm like, oh shit, I'm about to throw my fucking sword, but I have to remember to hold it instead of just pressing it, because oftentimes I forget to do that because I'm stupid. I've gotten more used to it now, but at first it was kind of hard, like, oh shit, I gotta remember to do this, and it feels slow. It feels really slow to hold R, and then hold up, and then scroll through and get my shit. Not the biggest fan of that. I think they could have solved this by just, if you press up on the D-pad, and then you scroll through the different items, and then you press R, it would just pull you out of the menu, and you're holding the item that you pressed R while it was like selected. Not a hard change. Not a hard change at all. Now, let's go back, another menu thing, way back to the beginning of the video with the dungeons. I mentioned that what happens if someone wants to put down like a frost emitter on their shield. Fusing things should be allowed both in the game world or from the menu. Either the up menu on the D-pad or in the actual inventory. You should be able to click on an item in the materials section, and then there should be an option for fuse to weapon, and then it should take you to the weapon menu, and then you click on the weapon you want, and there should be another thing that says fuse, and then you fuse it. That way, you could still be in dungeons and fuse things to your weapons. That would solve the problems. It really would, because then you don't have to go into your menu, hold an item, drop it on the ground, and then fuse it there. Alternatively, I know you can press up and then hold the item from there and throw it on the ground. Still, just being able to fuse it right there, like if you could press up, and then if you could hit, like, I don't know, another button, like, I don't know, any button, like R, like ZR or something, it doesn't matter, and then it would, like, say fuse, and then it would bring you up to the weapons menu from there to fuse it to a weapon. Come on. This is not hard. This wouldn't be a hard thing to do. And of course, more controls options are always the best. That's always been a Nintendo thing though. You kind of play the game the way they want you to play it. More options to change button mapping and things like that. That would always be appreciated. Because having to go into the system menu and do it from there, not cool, not fun, not very intuitive. But yeah. Those are my main problems with Tears of the Kingdom. I want to be clear, I really enjoy the game. I'm still playing it. I have 3 shrines left to go until I have all of them. I still have things I want to do with it. I really like it. I think it's a fun game. I think Ultra Hand and Ascend and Recall and Fuse, they're all great abilities. I think they're better than the Sheikah Slate things. I think they're better than that. The runes, I should say, in the Sheikah Slate. And I do like that they've taken out a lot of the glitches. There is one glitch I don't like that they took out. on the Hylia bridge, the what do you call it? I don't know, the big bridge in the south of the lake, on the lake of Hylia. They took out that little spot on the building where if you stood in it, Link's cell shading would go away. They took that out, and that was really cool. I really enjoyed that in the first game because you kind of got a peek behind like the development process, and you kind of got to see what the cell shading did. And I'm sad they took that out. I think they should have left that in there. It wasn't really harming anything to have it in there. It was just a cool little spot that you could do that. However, things like wind bombing are gone. A lot of other glitches are gone. That's great. I think that's great. I like wind bombing. It's fun, okay? Don't get me wrong. But I discovered wind bombing way late into my time with Tears of the Kingdom. Way late, okay? I didn't know it was a thing. I knew bullet time bouncing was a thing, but I knew it as you freeze an enemy, get on a ledge, and then you shield jump onto their head with a bow out, and then you go flying. That's a lot more difficult to pull off than wind bombing. That's easy as shit. You can wind bomb anywhere and go anywhere at any time. You fly through the map. It does take a little bit of skill with the quick button presses, and I'm sure I can still do it now because I've done it so many times. And I always like recording my successful wind bombs, but I'm happy that it's gone in Tears of the Kingdom. I'm really happy it's gone. Anyway, those are my gripes to the game. I think that they have stuff that they can improve, and I'm still really excited for the next Zelda. If you guys have, if you want to complain about things I've said in the comment section below, go for it. I did get the controller for the game. I really like this controller. This is a good controller. Look at that. Wait. Look at it. That's so good, dude. That's great. Ugh, they nailed it. They really did a good job with that controller. Anyway, that's all for today's video. I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. I promise we'll talk about politics again. I wanted to get this video out there. That's it. Goodbye.